Hey guys, it's Daniel. The following is a clip from my video on Demri Parrott and Layne Staley's relationship. If you want to see the full video, it's linked below.
Fame ultimately had a negative impact on Layne's relationship with Demri. In an interview with journalist John Widerhorn that was released in Rolling Stone on February 8th of 96, Layne Staley said the following when reflecting on his breakup with Demri. Quote, "I can definitely say rock and roll was a huge factor in us breaking up. When you're in a relationship, the girl usually instigates the big idea that you were joined at the hip. So when the grifting comes, it's really painful. This isn't a dig on women, but I think women are so different chemically from men, and it makes it hard to sustain a relationship. They have periods. They go through horrific, awful emotional swings. And trying to be logical with a person that's got a whole different logic running around in her brain is just impossible. When you're in a relationship, the girl usually instigates this big truth that you were put on earth to be together. And after being with a person a long time and being convinced that you're soulmates, you can get really crushed if things eventually fall apart. When I broke up with my last real girlfriend, life was just dismal. I didn't know how to live or what to do. And then I had to realize, okay, I got along for 20 years before I met her, and I had good times. But right now I'm alone, and I'm totally cool with it." End quote. One particular episode which hurt Layne's relationship with Demri was the album cover for Dirt. Released in 1992, Dirt is considered by many as Alice in Chains' best album. The album cover for Dirt is one of the most iconic images in grunge history. The album cover features a young woman laying on her back on a cracked desert floor, her body partially buried underneath. The model in the image looks like Demri, but it isn't her. It was somebody else. According to Demri's mother, Kathleen, Demri was very hurt by this. More on that shortly. The model featured in the image is Mariah O'Brien, and the photographer is Rocky Schenk, who's worked with Alice in Chains on many occasions. The following is a quote from Rocky Schenk, where he explains how they created the image. This quote is from Alice in Chains' The Untold Story. Quote, "We created the cracked desert floor with clay rolled out on foam core raised up on apple boxes. There was a cutout in the center of the foam core for the model to slip into, so she would appear half buried in the desert floor. I cut the miniature mountains out of foam core as well, and we put up a painted sky backdrop behind the mountains. Mariah's hair was short at the time, so we put a long wig on her so her hair would flow out artistically into the desert floor. After getting her in place, we sealed her up with more clay, which we then dried around her with hair dryers. Poor Mariah was stuck in that position for many, many hours as I tried a variety of different lighting effects and visual approaches." End quote. Now, as mentioned, the model on the album cover is Mariah O'Brien, though at the time the album was released, many of the people close to the band thought it was Demri Parrott, Layne Staley's longtime on-again, off-again girlfriend. According to Demri's mother, Kathleen Austin, Demri was hurt that the band hired a model who looked like her to be on the cover. The following is a quote from Kathleen Austin. Quote, "Demri was really hurt when they chose a model that looked so much like her that people thought it was her, because it put her in a position where people would come up to her and say, 'Oh wow, I saw you on the cover of Dirt,' and she'd have to say, 'No, that's not me.' Sometimes people believed her, and sometimes they didn't believe her. She wouldn't have minded if they got a model that didn't look like her, but it put her in a really awkward position, and it was really hurtful to her. She was just trying to maintain her own identity, never wanted to just be known as somebody's girlfriend." End quote. According to Kathleen Austin, Layne Staley's rising fame was beginning to overshadow Demri Parrott's identity. She isn't even sure if Demri would have posed for the album cover if she'd been asked to. Layne's fame not only hurt Demri, however, but also Layne himself. The following is also from Kathleen from Alice in Chains' The Untold Story. Quote, "Once when Layne was in rehab, I got to visit him on a Sunday afternoon. I think Jerry and Sean had been there and left when I got there. I think I saw them. Layne was sitting outside on this picnic table talking, and all of a sudden you hear Alice in Chains music. Layne was devastated. He started to cry because from that point on, he wasn't a guy with an addiction problem going to treatment. He was Alice in Chains.